Welcome to Let's Stretch. 10 minutes or less of yoga stretching for a specific part of your body. So today we're gonna work on hips. I've done other hip stretching videos, but this one's just a little bit more advanced. So not advanced, don't be scared, but maybe let's call it intermediate. So intermediate hip stretching. If you want a beginner hip stretching video, I do have that, just look for that. But so a little more advanced today, we're gonna do some hip stretching. So a lot of people who have low back pain, it's because your hips are tight, which your hips are tight by design, because your psoas, that hip flexor muscle, is intended to be tight to lift your leg, right? So that's why it's tight. But when we sit for long hours, either in the car, at work, at our desk, that hip flexor doesn't really have a lot of room to move, so it tends to get tight on us to just really try to keep us safe. So by stretching it and allowing the body to be in a position where the hip flexor can stretch, we can actually alleviate some low back pain. So not a lot of people come to me and say, hey Claire, I want to do hip stretches, but they do complain about low back pain or low back issues, which then I normally suggest hip stretches. So here's some more advanced hip stretches for you today. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're just gonna come into a malasana or yogi squat, garland squat. So your heels come wider than your hips, right? So your heels are trying to come down to the earth. See how mine aren't quite coming down here? That's normal. That just means I need to walk my feet a little bit wider out so that I can come into this seated pose. And then my hands are right at my heart center. Elbows are pushing those knees away. So a little intense hip stretch here, holding it here, pressing down through the big toes, the baby toes, and the backs of the heels. Sit bones are trying to reach down for that earth. Sometimes your sit bones will actually come to the earth. If not, that's okay too. Intensifying this pose, we can come into spider. So hands come to the earth, hands tend to cross in spider, and then lifting the heels. So I'm lifting my heels on purpose, but I'm still dropping my hips as low as I can. So hips aren't lifting up, hips are still coming down as heels are lifting. Lowering the heels, switch the cross of the hand, so the other hand comes in front this time, and then lift the heels, drop the hips. Couple breaths here, spider pose. Lowering down, hands can come back to the earth. We're gonna come into frog pose. So frog pose, you're just walking those knees onto the earth. Knees are coming as wide as they can, and feet are walking out. So your feet are in line with your knees, or more so your ankle and heel is in line with your knee. And then you're gonna fold your heart and your chest down forward, so you look like you have little frog legs. So I'm gonna come to the side to show you how that looks. So wide, lowering down, and just breathing here. So long exhales are really important as we're in hip stretches, because when we inhale, our lungs expand, diaphragm contracts, and then when we exhale, that diaphragm releases as the lungs contract. The reason it's important on the exhale and the diaphragm expands is because the diaphragm is connected on the spine, right where that psoas or hip flexor is connected. So as we really exhale, we can get some release in that hip flexor. So I like to think of it as either matching inhales, 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out, or trying to elongate my exhales, 4 seconds for an inhale, and 6 seconds for an exhale. Once you've got that down, if your body will allow you to relax further, maybe you try a 6-second inhale, 8-second exhale. So always trying to make that exhale a little longer if you can, especially in hip postures or hip poses, so that we can really allow that hip flexor to know that it's okay, so that it can just relax and stretch and not pull on the low back. Couple more breaths here. And then coming out of it, hands can walk up, knees can make their way in, and then we're on our hands and knees. We're gonna tuck the toes, lift the hips up towards the sky, coming into downward facing dog. So downward facing dog, our hands are spread wide, Our sit bones are up towards the sky. Core is strong. We're trying to reach our heels down to the earth. Then when you're ready, the right leg is going to lift up. So this is three-legged dog. Our right knee is going to come to our right elbow. Then we're going to drop that knee down to the wrist, walking the left toes away. We're going to come into half pigeon or sleeping pigeon. So making sure the spine is nice and long. The back leg is straight. So if you have a yoga mat, it's parallel on your yoga mat. You're just looking back at the leg, making sure the toes aren't in or the toes aren't sickling out. Relax that back foot. Spine gets really long here. And then just start folding the chest forward. So again, hands can walk away. You can come to your forearms. You can come out and lower your forehead down, whatever feels comfortable for you. If this is too much for this knee, this right knee, you're on your back doing the same thing in figure four. So for the right hip, staying in pigeon if this feels good. If it doesn't feel good, you're on your back. Right leg lifts off the earth. It crosses over the top of the left thigh, and then the knees can come in to whatever stretch feels comfortable for you. If you're on your back, hands can come around that left thigh. You can push that right knee away. If you're in sleeping pigeon, you have a few more breaths right here. If you're in your sleeping pigeon, you're gonna walk your hands in, lift your chest up, tuck the back toes, lift the hips up and back, find your down dog. If you're in that figure four on your back, go ahead and meet us in down dog. Once we're in down dog, we're gonna do the same thing other side. So left leg lifts, left knee comes in towards that left elbow. Then we're gonna lower it down towards the left wrist, walk the right toes away, and then set ourselves up for sleeping pigeon or half pigeon on this side. So again, looking back at that right leg, making sure it's straight, toes aren't coming in or out. And then chest and spine is long. So with this foot, right, with your opposite foot, the foot that's in front, this left foot, the heel can be under your hip. That's where it's gonna be comfortable for most people. If your hip is more flexible, you might not be listening to this video, but if your hip is more flexible, you can always walk your shin out so it's parallel if you have a yoga mat to the front of your mat. So just see what feels good on your hip. So either heel tucked under the hip or that foot can walk itself a little further away. Spine is long, and then fold it down to either your forearms, your hands and forearms, your head can come down. And again, if this knee, it's not okay, it's not feeling good in pigeon, you just roll on your back. Same option here for figure four. So you're either in your pigeon, or if it's hurting your front knee, you're on your back, soles of the feet are on the mat. Your left ankle crosses over that right thigh, and then the knees come in. Leg can straighten, you can pull that thigh in, or you can push that left knee and thigh away. So you have a few more breaths here. Big inhales, long, slow exhales. When you're ready, we're gonna come out of it. So if you are in sleeping pigeon, we're gonna lift up onto those hands, swoop that back foot away. If you're in figure four, go ahead and meet us on your seat. Soles of the feet touch, butterfly pose, or Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. So soles of the feet touch, heels can be in towards the groin or out away from you. And just rooting down through those sit bones. Shoulders are back over the hips. Breathing here. If you want a little more stretch, hands can come out in front of you. You can start folding your chest forward. Maybe your hands walk away from you. That's an option too. Couple breaths here. And your hands walk in, shoulders come over the hips. And that's it, friends. That's it for your hip stretches today. So if you have questions or comments, let me know. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.